Hello and welcome to another jungle video, and in this one we are once again going to be looking at the ganking junglers. That's right, it's been a very long year for us who enjoy actually interacting with the game and not AFK farming like old MacDonald. And if you did enjoy farming and counter jungling and rinse clearing while the enemy jungler made a fool of himself trying to gank and then you outscaled by 2 levels, yeah, I have no sympathy for you. The game is better and jungle is better when laners and junglers actually interact. And yes, that affects pro play and high elo as well. All the junglers that can do this and more are on your screen now. The patch is live, so experienced nerfs have come through. So please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoy the content and are excited for all the new types of jungle meta content we shall be having soon. And if you want to play fantasy esports with me, our sponsor for today's video has you set. esportsfantasy.gg, an LEC LCS free-to-play fantasy League of Legends game offering you the chance to draft your own roster and earn points based on their performance. And these points are earned for more than just winning or killing. Gold earned, vision control, and damage healed will all boost your score on the site. Simply pick a squad of 5 starters and 5 subs from both LEC and LCS. You can make changes to your rosters each week and pick a shot caller who scores double points. And of course, it's going to be caps. While you can create private leagues for you and your friends, you can also join my league to support the channel and be up for some cool VIP viewing party prizes, as well as a Fnatic keyboard and headset. The link and my league code are in the description below, and I'm looking forward to competing against you all on esportsfantasy.gg. And now, without hesitation, let's begin. We have 2 games, one where we're ganking, but things don't really work out as well early. That means you can slap all the ganking attempts onto the Reddit there was an attempt, and therefore with the old meta, you know, with the high farming experience, you might be obliterated by Fiddlesticks or Karthus who simply farmed while you tried. That's the game you're seeing on your screen now in Elise vs. Kindred, and in the second game we will go over the ganking practices and gameplay style you will need in most of your elos, as that one will be slightly lower than high elo where things go well, but there's still a lot of missed opportunities. Now, as you can see from the first clears, the Elise is deciding to do a 3 camp into red buff, and the Kindred is doing a 4 camp in a clear. This is not normally a good Kindred clear, I don't really recommend it. But when there's a Lulu top on your team and you have to be somewhere, you just do the things you have to do. And let's be blunt here, Kindred is not a farming jungler. Yes, they do end up farming very efficiently, yes, they scale more than almost anyone in the game, but you have to get there through aggression, kind of like a Talia. You're looking to make plays, you're looking to get on the map, you want to get that lead and that snowball advantage. Now from the Elise's perspective, you do as well because you do not scale as much as the Kindred. The fact that Kindred gets the first gank and the first blood is kind of frustrating. Elise, on the other hand, decides, you know, I'm gonna go all in mid, throws out the E-Cocoon, the Orianna flashes, that's great, we'll take it, but a kill would have been nice. And with every meta before 11.4, at this point you're feeling kinda sad because the enemy jungler gets a gank, they farm better than you, you're being counter jungled, and now basically you're in a bit of a difficult situation. Elise decides to deny the top crab, smites it, and then repels out. While she does that, it's worth noting this is why it's important. If you're an Elise Volibear style jungler, 3 camp, get on the map, because if you get beaten to it, you're going to be behind on tempo, and now because the bottom lane doesn't have prio, you are actually forced to give up the second crab as well. But you must try and get on the field first, and because Elise reacted to the Kindred going topside, she was able to at least stymie that early advantage that might have been gained a lot harder had she simply gone to Krugs. The thing about ganking is it's very punishing if you miss, if you don't secure kills. Now obviously we want to repeat and abuse, that's the mantra since day 1 on this channel. You might have lost the crab, but Orianna walks into your never mind you missed it. You get passive aggressively spam ping from your mid laner who definitely would have followed up, and now you've lost an advantage simply through a mechanical error even though the decision was good. That's the importance of ganking junglers, you must execute, for if you do not, bad things will happen, but it's not the end of the world now because of the experience nerfs. It also means you can fall back to your camps during the downtime, take the Raptors, but don't stop looking at the minimap using your F keys. If your initial inclination at this point was, hey, you know what, sucks, right? Let me go do Krugs, those guys like to get stoned. That's completely the wrong mindset and exactly why everyone would fall behind. You know Kindred's on the bottom side, you know the set is still in lane and hasn't gone back to roam. This means Jace is pushing the top lane, let's go for the dive. Now Lulu flashes away and you don't get anything again, so this is really not an optimal ganking early game. The Kindred in response says, hey, Grump is up, Wolves are up, thank you very much. Now I can also dive the bottom lane if they are prepared and decide to stay around. Now don't worry in this new meta, in the old meta this is really stifling. The experience that the Kindred takes away from you here is actually somewhat reduced now, which means the benefits they gain, the losses you sustain no longer brings as much pain. And this is why I don't write scripts, cause what? However, it also means you need to have the right map movement, the map reads, and you have to stop the situation now and still keep the pressure up. Don't get passive and think, oh well, all is lost. The Kindred 100% will greed for the Grump, greed for the Mark. That's why it's important the Elise went back to base and straight down. You get to smite it away and kill the Kindred. Now, if this can happen in a high elo game, trust me, in your lower mid-tier games, if you are simply going back to base and then going to the wrong side of the map, if you're going back to base and just going to the wolves, you're missing the opportunity to shut down the enemy jungler, get yourself something for all of your early game efforts. And now, even though you just killed the Kindred, don't go back to farm. That meta is dead. Keep the pressure up here. Your Viego has roamed as well. Look to now impact the bottom lane. Yes, Aphelios is going on some kind of cross-country journey. The Viego's here. You can save them. As long as there's a fight ongoing and you have resources and cooldowns, try and stick it out, make outplays, and come away with a few kills and assists. With the reduction in experience, the laner soak, the ganking soak, the kills and assists, this will be more than worth the loss from farming, as long as you can keep up that cadence afterwards. Upon going back to base and buying yourself some worthy items that you deserve because it's important to take care of yourselves, I wish I would listen to my own advice, and you know the Kindred stole your red, don't stop to farm. We're back to the stages where this Korean style of simply get out of base, run to the fight, run to the lane, take care of business, and then you can fall back to take heralds and farm and what have you is the best way to play the game. The Elise uses great misdirected intent, meaning instead of focusing on the Kindred like it looked like she was going to, she shot the cocoon web shot out of her side somehow, hits the Lulu and basically cleans them up afterwards. Great pathing decision, great ganking recognition, and then good mechanical play, which is hilarious considering the first level 3 gank. Now once you finish the Herald, as should be the natural play from getting 2 kills, you could look to go and invade the blue buff. However, because there's no red buff on your side, there's no red buff on the Kindred side, most logically here now she's going to float to the top side, take all the blue cams, and you don't want to be stuck over-greeding when your laners want to reset as well. Simply walk away. If there is no dragon on the map and there's no Kindred mark on the bottom side, you can afford here to take your Krugs and your Raptors and then reset, but because there's a dragon up, you know Kindred is sequencing down, you know the enemy bottom lane has prio, go back to base immediately, get your itemization spike, and head directly towards the bottom lane. You can take regular pathing here, you can't scan unfortunately, control wards are your best friends. However, there's great vision by Kindred's team and Kindred sets up a nice counter gank. Unfortunately, it's solo queue, they're not on the same page. Elise basically does her business. Kindred gets a kill but dies as well, and now instead of using the Herald, wait, let's try and juice our laners as well as ourselves. We have time, the Kindred will have to sequence upside, nothing else to do, and you as Elise have control over the dragon and a Herald spawn for plates. And this is where things can become kind of advanced. Make sure you are implementing different approaches for all your ganking procedures. I did a video in December about this, comparing different elos and their ganking practices, and trust me, this will be very useful for this current meta. Do the grump and then shatter your laners, and then once the enemy bottom lane goes in again, once they try to do something, if you have a Thresh, he can lantern you, obliterate the enemy bottom lane again. Now you can use your Herald for plates, now you can secure that dragon, and now you can finish your blue quadrant, reset, and you're transitioning to the mid game already as laners begin to swap, and now you have to close out appropriately. Now that's really where this early game ganking jungler thing ends. There's a bit more pressure on finishing games and closing just due to the fact that you won't outscale someone AFK farming. Yes, even in the new patch. But I will link my gameplay videos that go over this kind of different play style and how you close out from strong leads. But at the same time, a ganking jungler that has a dream start really needs to look to maintain that pressure and keep the enemy jungle down through hardcore ganking, suppressing laners, and preventing the enemy jungler getting anything at all. As you can see, we jump into a Lee Sin game, he gets first blood here. This isn't really realistic. However, at the same time, a lot of people think, wow, Lee Sin got first blood, game is over. It really isn't. He didn't have time to buy just yet, so that lead hasn't really materialized. At the same time, it doesn't change the way you need to go about the early game because this happened before the first buff spawn. And more often than not, people get overconfident, cocky, and end up not using this lead appropriately. Therefore, let's see what we can do. Now, in a mirror situation, both junglers do a blue side plus red buff. Both junglers have a laner over pushing. Please go and gank these lanes. This will happen so often. Just make sure it's the right lane. And if you're doing good jungling, like, you know, noticing where the enemy jungler began, and you see, oh, hey, maybe my Lucian is pushing up, and it's a ganking meta, and you're the Talia, but maybe your mid lane isn't gankable, you can set up a very easy counter gank to this Lee Sin, either through the lane bush or the river bush. However, as you know, the blue team's bottom lane kills the Lee Sin's team's bottom lane anyway, despite the first blood and no summoners, Lee Sin is able to grab a kill, and so is the Talia. Now, in this point, many things go wrong. The Lucian decides to TP in right on the Lee Sin for no reason whatsoever. I know he wants to go the gangplank. If this does happen in your games and you go to the Krugs, don't forget, repeat gank, abuse him. He decided to flash and use his TP on a pushing wave, GPS TP, free real estate. However, if you're the Taliyah, I don't like going top lane here. Simply go down bottom lane, take that crab, kill the enemy bottom lane again, and then look to counter jungle the Lee Sin's tier 2 Grump and Wolves. At the very least, this is still heavy losses and offsetting the pressure by the Lee Sin. If you are a good ganking jungler, you're doing this for sure. However, in the event that the bad jungler on the enemy team does something like this, please take advantage if you want to succeed in this meta. Get the kills. If your bottom lane isn't gankable, if mid lane isn't gankable, simply loop around again all your tier 2 camps, take your raptors as well, ignore your crooks as they are out of the way, and gank top lane again. Now you will notice the Lee Sin walks over multiple control wards and vision queues on his way top lane. And that's why I like using Diamond 1, Diamond 2 games, because really the difference between this and Master, Grandmaster, and Challenger is actually hilarious. There's no respect on either side, there's a lot of arrogance, and you can abuse it. And the same I think can be said for low diamond, for platinum, for gold, and so on. The most important lesson from the Lee Sin here is 3 to 4 camp into lane action. If someone decides to make a play, you're an early game jungler, out-mechanic them, out-stat them, get the kills, double crab, look to repeat gank the same lane multiple times, top, mid, bot, doesn't matter, and in between that, implement your extended sequences and camp sequencing to gain huge experience leads that will let you translate this to objective control. Now at this point you might think, wow, Lee Sin got first blood, his lane's what? The bottom lane is an absolute tragedy despite that early advantage in summoner spells, and you will see the scorecard at the end. This really is a 1v5 game, which means after base, don't go to your camps. Bottom lane's pushing, gank it, counter gank it, try get something. Push the waves if they need to be pushed, hold the waves if they need to as well. Any source of experience on the map must belong to you. I mean, I'm not saying go ahead and tax laners, I'm just saying if there's experience you can gain by pushing, by ganking, by holding towers, this is all even more valuable in the current patch. And if you do all this correctly, the Taliyah just cannot match up to you, especially Lee Sin getting some buffs as well. Any sort of carnivore jungler like this will really thrive in this early to mid game phase, and the late game scaling junglers won't be able to get away with doing nothing. This gives you dragons, this gives you grumps and repeat sequences of your camps, and then it lets you repeat gank on the bottom lane using one of those precious yet underused lane ganks. Seriously, I cannot remember the last time a jungler lane ganked me or I got lane ganked for. It's such a supreme level of map awareness and understanding of pathing that allows you to really take it to laners. Lane gank. Do it. And yes, with all this attention on the bottom side, you're going to lose the Herald. This is a big loss, but you have to expect that from the ganking pressure. That's what happens in jungling. And it also doesn't mean that the lanes that are pushing are not difficult to gank. Sure, Lee Sin has an advantage here, but Rek'Sai can do the same thing. Elise, Volibear, we all have something that allows you to dive and get under the tower to still make the ganks work. And finally, with this lead, I hope you don't throw it again. The link's in the description below. You should be able to close these games out. Take it to the enemy jungler. Don't allow them to farm. Get in their face. Take away even more of that experience. Counter jungling is still valuable. It's huge. Did a video on that also. But you're seeing the pressure points from the Lee Sin able to continually kill laners, continually kill the enemy jungler, repeat gank, repeat pressure. And then he uses those openings to get the objectives and farm quickly in the downtime. You'll see a summary of the points you need to make sure you get away from this video. I know it was quick and intense, but that's very much because of the new jungling style and how it will actually be in game. You cannot afford to blink, you cannot afford to allow the enemy jungler to out-pressure you such that you end up really like this Taliyah, not knowing what to do, having no purpose in the game. You know you're not going to be able to farm and scale like a Karthus. And in the end, barring any sort of tragic throw, you simply lose and the enemy team wins and you just feel like you couldn't do anything. It's the worst thing in the world. Don't let it happen to you. Look for those ganks, look for that action, keep the pressure up. Best of luck in the new style meta. We'll see a best junglers in the next 2 weeks once sort of the meta settled and we see who comes out on top. Thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to braid your beards in the most beautiful way. Don't forget to please like, share, and comment if you did enjoy and learn something. And as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.